You requested a deep dive into 23andMe, and trust me, the amount of information you sent over is seriously impressive. It's clear you're not just casually curious, you're digging in, and I love that. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of this genetic roller coaster, though, let's take a quick break for our sponsor. Today's deep dive is sponsored by TopNaturalHealth.com, your one-stop shop for all things natural wellness. If you're looking to boost your energy, improve your sleep, or just want to feel your best from the inside out, they've got you covered with their range of high-quality supplements, skincare, and anti-aging products. And guess what? Podcast listeners get special promo code pricing. So head over to TopNaturalHealth.com and see the difference natural can make. Okay, back to 23andMe. It's hard not to feel like we're watching a high-stakes corporate drama unfold here. Wouldn't you agree?
It's absolutely wild, especially the part about all 7 independent board directors resigning. It's like they all just vanished at the same time.
Leaving just the CEO, Anne Wojcicki, as the lone survivor. And we're talking about a major company, not some mom-and-pop shop. So what exactly happened? Did the whole company suddenly find out they were sharing DNA with a banana and decide to pack it in?
Well, while the banana thing is certainly a fun fact to drop at parties, it's not the main culprit here. Although I can see why someone might have second thoughts about their stock portfolio if they'd invested in 23andMe when it went public. Remember when those shares debuted at $10 a pop?
You're telling me they didn't skyrocket to the moon?
More like plummeted to the Earth's core? We're talking a whopping 97% drop, leaving them at a measly 33 cents per share.
Ouch. Talk about a rough ride. No wonder there's tension in the boardroom. But what's the plan here? Why isn't everyone trying to salvage the company instead of jumping ship?
That's where things get interesting. The board members were all about staying afloat in the public market, but Wojcicki, she's got a completely different vision, taking the company private.
Hold up. Can we pause for a quick explanation? For those of us who don't speak fluent Wall Street, what's the difference between staying public and going private? And why is Wojcicki so dead set on this whole going private thing?
Okay, so imagine you're setting up a lemonade stand, right?
Okay.
You're in charge. You make the rules and all the profits, they're all yours. That's kind of like running a private company. But say your lemonade stand starts, booming and you need more money to expand, buy more lemons, sugar, all that. So you decide to sell shares of your lemonade stand to the public.
Okay.
Now, you've got a lot of investors, right? But they all get a say in how you run your business, what kind of lemonade you make, how much you charge.
Okay, I'm seeing where you're going with this.
Yeah.
So going public is like selling shares of your lemonade stand.
Exactly. And while it can be great for raising capital, getting that money to grow, it also means you're constantly under pressure to keep those investors happy. And that can sometimes kind of stifle innovation and long-term thinking.
Makes sense.
Wojcicki, she seems to want that freedom to experiment and build without the constant scrutiny of the stock market. Leave me alone. Let me make my lemonade.
So she's basically saying, I need space to build this rocket ship, and I can't do it with everyone watching my every move. Makes sense. But you mentioned she has a bigger vision for 23andMe, beyond just spitting in a tube and finding out your great aunt was a champion clog dancer.
Right. We're talking about a future where 23andMe isn't just known for DNA kits, right? But becomes a major player in the healthcare industry.
Good.
Think telehealth services.
Okay.
Partnerships with big pharmaceutical companies to develop new drugs based on genetic insights, personalized medicine tailored to your DNA. The possibilities are huge.
Okay, now that's seriously cool. But hold on, didn't you say earlier 23andMe is struggling financially? How are they going to pull off this massive transformation if they're barely scraping by?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And to be honest, it's a risky move. Remember you sent over that article about 23andMe disbanding its internal drug research team?
Right.
That raised a lot of eyebrows.
Right. It seemed like they were going all in on this telehealth idea, but it hasn't exactly been smooth sailing so far.
It's still early days, but the financial tides haven't turned yet.
Yeah.
Wojcicki is making a big bet, and only time will tell if it pays off.
All right, so we've got boardroom shakeups, plummeting stock prices, a CEO betting big on a risky new direction. This is more intense than an episode of Succession. But there's another layer to this story we need to peel back, the data breach. The one that makes you want to wrap your DNA in tinfoil and bury it in the backyard.
Right.
Yeah.
It's definitely a big deal and something we need to take seriously. And you're right, this wasn't just about credit card numbers being stolen. We're talking about something far more sensitive, your genetic blueprint.
Okay, before we dive into the nitty-gritty of the breach itself, can you remind us exactly how much data was compromised and what kind of information hackers were able to access? Because I'm already feeling a little uneasy.
Yeah, so in October of last year, hackers got into 23andMe's systems, and it wasn't pretty.
Okay.
They initially got into about 14,000 accounts directly through something called a credential stuffing attack.
Credential stuff. That sounds kind of technical. What does that even mean?
It's actually simpler than it sounds. Imagine you use the same password for multiple online accounts, maybe your email, your online banking, and even something like, a DNA testing site.
Right.
Hackers know people do this, right? So they'll steal lists of usernames and passwords from one place and try them on a bunch of other websites. And if you've used the same login info, boom, they're in.
Wow, that's sneaky. So even if someone is super careful with their 23andMe password, they can still be vulnerable because of something totally unrelated.
Unfortunately, yes. And here's where it gets even more unsettling. Remember that DNA relatives feature you were curious about?
The one that connects you to long-lost cousins and builds out your family tree.
That's the one. Because of that feature, the hackers weren't just limited to the 14,000 accounts they directly compromised. They were able to leverage those accounts to potentially access genetic information of millions of users related to those individuals. People who might not have even known their information was part of 23andMe's database.
Hold on, that's a lot to unpack. So you're saying that even if I never used 23andMe, my DNA information could still be caught up in this breach just because, say, my third cousin twice removed decided to trace their ancestry.
That's the scary reality. And it's not just names and birthdays we're talking about here. It's your genetic makeup, your predisposition to certain health conditions, your family's entire medical history.
It's like that saying, you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family.
Oh.
Except in this case, you also can't choose whether or not your family's DNA gets caught up in a data breach. And to make matters worse, didn't 23andMe initially downplay the severity of this whole thing?
They did. Initially, 23andMe claimed that only a small number of users were impacted, which, understandably, made people even angrier when the true scale of the breach came to light.
Yeah, it's like adding insult to injury.
Yeah.
You've potentially had your most personal information compromised, and the company in charge is trying to sweep it under the rug. No wonder people are demanding answers.
Absolutely. And it's not just about anger. It's about trust, which, let's be honest, is kind of important when we're talking about something as sensitive as our DNA, right? Yeah. They eventually settled a class action lawsuit for $30 million.
Okay.
But that doesn't erase what happened. And it certainly doesn't guarantee that it won't happen again.
It really makes you think about the trade-offs we're making in this age of personalized technology. We're promised incredible benefits, connecting with long-lost relatives, understanding our health risks, even potentially revolutionizing healthcare. But at what cost?
It's a question we all need to grapple with. And it's not just about whether we trust 23andMe. It's about the broader implications for genetic data privacy. Who owns this information? How should it be used? And how can we ensure it's protected?
These are some seriously big questions. It's clear that this situation is about so much more than just one company or one data breach.
Exactly. It really highlights the importance of being informed and asking tough questions. As genetic testing becomes more and more commonplace, we need to be aware of the risks involved and make conscious choices about how our data is being used.
It's like we're standing at a crossroads. On one hand, we have this incredible technology with the potential to change our lives for the better. But on the other hand, we have to acknowledge the very real risk and make sure we're not sacrificing our privacy for the sake of progress.
100%.
Speaking of making informed choices, let's take a quick moment to thank our sponsor, topnaturalhealth.com, for supporting this deep dive. You know, when I'm researching topics like this, it really makes me think about taking control of my own health and well-being. And that's something topnaturalhealth.com understands. They believe in harnessing the power of nature to help you feel your best from the inside out. They've got everything from top-notch supplements to support your energy and focus to luxurious skincare products that'll leave your skin glowing. And because we love a good deal here at the Deep Dive, our listeners get a special discount. Just use the promo code at checkout and you're good to go. Now, where were we? Yes, the million-dollar question, what's next for 23andMe? Can they recover from this genetic meltdown? Or are they destined to go the way of the dinosaurs?
It's a nail-biter, for sure. A lot hinges on Wojcicki's next move. Can she secure the funding to take the company private? And perhaps even more importantly, can she rebuild trust with both investors and everyday people like you?
That's a tall order, especially after everything that's happened. So to the listener who requested this deep dive, we turn the mic over to you. After uncovering all of this, how do you feel about 23andMe? Would you trust them with your DNA?
It's a question worth pondering, and one that we all need to consider as genetic testing becomes increasingly common. The potential benefits are undeniable, but so are the risks.
It's like that old saying, knowledge is power, but it's also a responsibility. And in the case of our DNA, it's a responsibility that extends far beyond ourselves. We're talking about the privacy of our families, our ancestors, and even future generations. It's a lot to think about. And on that note, we'll leave you with this final thought. The future of genetic information is still being written, and the choices we make today will determine what that future looks like. So stay informed, stay curious, and as always, dive deep. And don't forget to check out topnaturalhealth.com and use the promo code for a special discount. Until next time, stay curious.